primary challenge is ideological. That is the control of the minds of African elite and leadership by ideas and doctrines that prevent us from taking charge of our responsibility to develop. No matter the resources which you have, if you do not envision a particular type of society, you will never really make it. If you let other people replace their vision of you and what you should be, you will always be going against the stream. And swimming against the current is the most difficult thing to do. If, on the other hand, we had organized our societies in such a way that our interests were central to our development, we'll be swimming down with the current and we'll have accomplished much more than we've accomplished. Oh yes, in some ways we're better off, there's no doubt about that. I don't underestimate the nationalist struggle or the achievements of independence. The point I'm making basically is this. We got independence, but we didn't have cultural and mental independence. We didn't undertake cultural and mental liberation. If you don't liberate your mind from your dominator's doctrines, you will be a carrier of the doctrine without even being aware that you are carrying it. For example, as I said, one of the most fascinating is to realize the extent to which we've given up responsibility to develop and we focus exclusively on foreign direct investments. This is in spite of any evidence of history that there's no place that develops you apart from yourself. Foreigners invest in a place that makes profits. That is why, for example, the largest foreign investment you find anywhere in the world is in China. Because China has developed internally the capacity to make itself look prosperous, infrastructure. That's what it did for itself. It wasn't built by foreigners. But foreigners go there because it's easier to make profit there. You know. But we have unfortunately given up, especially with the structural adjustment program from the mid-80s. We abandoned self-development for FDI development. Let me start this way. I'm a student of Nigerian intellectual history, and democracy predates colonialism. I didn't start in 1999. In fact, I have a paper where I document Nigerian democracy from 1880 to 1960. It's just the present generation we think that because the US and others said we should democratize, we are democratizing. But the freedoms we have in Nigeria were fought for in the colonial period. Nigerians like Ehiedu, Zukogi, Abdallah, they went to jail for freedom of expression, freedom of association, freedom of assembly, and so on. So it's not a new thing. For me, democratization is a fulfillment of a long-standing Nigerian aspiration to run a society in a particular way. You know, so that. This question of liberalization, I'm not very clear if you're talking of economic liberalization. I basically don't believe in it. I don't believe in it because, as an historian, what I find striking is that societies evolve at different phases depending on their capacity. That to say, between 1960 and the mid-80s, what we're doing in Nigeria was an attempt to balance between the state as an activator of development, as an investor in development, and the private sector also doing its own side. The greatest damage of SAP, structural adjustment in Nigeria and Africa, is to fight against the state, to demonize the state and make the state abandon development. But if you look at the history of all developed countries, at a certain point in time, the state was central for their takeoff. In fact, some societies, the state created autarky. And after that, they opened up. But you opened up from strength. We opened up in total powerlessness. In total powerlessness. So liberalization is a minus for Africa's development. And it will not lead to development. That's the point one is making. The gospel of private sector took off in the mid-80s with World Bank and IMF. You know, but as an historian, I ask myself, what is the private sector doing that makes us have that faith? Is the private sector in Africa actually a development sector or merely an exploiter of opportunities? Let me give you an example of what in Nigeria today. I think the past several weeks we've had a lot of dishonest behavior between NNPC and Owando. Tinubu, I don't know if you know, where they claimed that they were giving something for a refinery, or they said no, they were not giving this for a refinery, and so on. And I asked myself, Owando has made millions of dollars from exporting Nigerian crude oil, but it has never thought of building even a modular refinery, but it wants to take over Port Harcourt refinery. And those are capitalists. Are they capitalists? Are they this thing? Or they're merely cheats? Capitalists in the developed world were the vanguard of takeoff of their societies technologically, industrially, and business-wise. Which of our capitalists is actually doing that in Africa? Buying and selling is not development. The core of capitalism is about production. Anywhere in the world, production is the premise of development. So for them to talk of that, I don't. It's enthusiastic, but is it backed by the evidence? The last major investment that was made by the Nigerian government before Dangote this thing was 1989. I want you to reflect from 1989 to the present, which capitalist has built any major project in Nigeria? Which one has done it? Apart from banks, insurance companies, buying and selling, ShopRite, that's the development. ShopRite that imports 90% from outside Nigeria. How is that development? So you can see I take a very different view, and I'm not deceived by any talk, propaganda. It's a dead end. It's not about recovery or growth. What we need in Nigeria is not growth. We need development. Have you heard of growth without development? That's what we had under Jonathan. If you have economic growth without development, you don't have employment, you don't have expansion of production, but you have what you call jobless growth. But if you have development, you will have employment. You'll have expanded production of goods and services. And so that's development. What is it in that document that says anything about development? Nothing. It's just the same thing recycled from Obasanjo's needs, Vision 2020, and so on. That's all it is. And a country of the size of Nigeria is not talking of manufacturing. They are talking about SMEs. Please, SMEs are central to development, but they're not the activators of development. It's part of the fact that we've been defeated, that we don't talk of industrialization. A federal government document talks of SMEs, not manufacturing, not substantive manufacturing. As I said, between late 70s to 80s to the 80s, NNPC drew up a plan, a three-phase plan to build petrochemical plants in this country. When those plans came out, both NNPC and Ministry of Industry were constantly holding workshops, doing publications. Say, oh look, you can make all these subsidiary projects from industries, ancillary industries, from the raw materials from the petrochemicals. What are we doing today? We are going to have the largest refinery in Africa in 2 years' time. We're going to have one of the largest petrochemical plants. We're going to have one of the largest fertilizer plants. Have you heard the Ministry of Industry do anything about that? What they are talking about is Presidential Better Business Council. How does that provide for employment, for growth, for production? So I don't have faith that that document means anything. It doesn't mean anything. Moreover, it wasn't even designed, written by Nigeria. It was written by foreigners that were paid to do that.